As arguably the most influential cinematic event in human history, Star Wars has enchanted moviegoers for more than 4 decades. This fantastical tale, set a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, focuses on the Galactic Republic and its order of lightsaber-wielding psychic ninja space paladins called the Jedi, who conjure power from the Force, a mystic energy field that surrounds and binds the galaxy together. As with all things, the Force has a dark side driven by death, passion, and destruction, favored by an evil order of fallen Jedi called the Sith, who peaced out about a millennia ago and haven't been seen since. Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
And I'm Chris.
And we're two lonely but obsessed Star Wars fans who are here to get you caught up on all things Star Wars before you see Rise of Skywalker. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. As it turns out, the Force isn't as balanced as we all thought. Some 30 years later, we find the galaxy in a delicate state. Luke Skywalker, fabled warrior and Jedi Master, has straight up disappeared. A wannabe empire called the First Order is growing, and the New Republic is happy to keep their heads in the sand, ignoring the First Order's existence. Leia Organa has ditched her diplomatic hat for a much more badass one. She is now General Leia Organa and has created her own guerrilla fighting force called the Resistance. Leia knows that her only chance to beat the First Order is with the help of Luke Skywalker, but no one knows where he is, and at this point, we don't even know why he has disappeared. Leia sends her top agent Poe Dameron, a sexy, charming, and incredibly daring X-Wing pilot, and his adorable ball-shaped droid BB-8 to follow a lead on the planet Jakku. A man there named Lawrence Santeca apparently has a map to Luke Skywalker, and there's only one problem. The First Order knows he has it as well. Poe gets there first, thankfully, and Santeca gives him a piece of the map stored on the Star Wars equivalent of a flash drive, but the First Order is hot on their trail. Troop transports arrive at Santeca's village and start murdering everyone while Poe tries to make his escape. But his X-Wing is damaged. He gives the flash drive to BB-8 and tells him to run, which he does in the most adorable spinny bouncy ball way. Before Poe is captured, he is introduced to Kylo Ren, a masked, black-clad menace who carries a red lightsaber with a crossguard. After a brief conversation with Kylo Ren's origins, he ruthlessly runs Santeca through with his lightsaber. Poe opens fire on Kylo Ren, but turns out he has the Force too because he's able to freeze the blaster bolt in midair and paralyze Poe where he stands. He decides to interrogate Poe back on the mothership and orders his stormtrooper commander Captain Phasma to murder the rest of the surviving villagers, and they gleefully comply. Well, not all of them. One of the stormtroopers, FN-2187, experiences somewhat of a meltdown as is unable to follow his orders. He just stands there pretending to shoot, but it's clear he's so bothered by what's happening that he's almost ready to blow chunks. He returns to their command ship with the rest of his stormtrooper pals, and Captain Phasma is already hella suspicious of him because she noticed he didn't kill anybody. She orders him to report to reconditioning. Meanwhile, Kylo Ren interrogates Poe about the location of the map. Kylo seems extremely motivated to find it as well, though his reasons remain unclear. Poe resists at first, but it turns out Kylo has this neat little trick. He's able to use the Force to invade Poe's mind and rip the information straight from his wavy-haired, dark-eyed brain. Kylo orders his stormtroopers to return to the surface and search for a cute little BB-8 unit. Back on the surface, BB-8 desperately tries to find help, but mostly just meets a bunch of assholes, one of which tries to capture him and sell him. He's rescued by a young, tough scavenger, Rey, who's been fighting to survive her entire life on Jakku since being abandoned there as a toddler. Because of her technical scavenging knowledge, she's able to understand BB-8, and he tells Rey that he's got important shit to do and she needs to help him. Back on the bad guy mothership, FN-2187 makes a decision that will change the course of his life. Stormtrooping isn't what he thought it was, and he's gonna get the fuck out. He finds where Poe is being held and pretends to transfer him to another part of the ship. Once they're alone, he floats a proposition. FN-2187 will help him board a TIE fighter if Poe will pilot it and help him escape. As it turns out, Poe isn't too crazy about the hospitality he's been given, so he agrees. The pair find a TIE fighter and Poe takes the pilot seat while FN-2187 takes the gunner spot. They're able to escape pretty much, but their TIE is hit and they have to crash land on the surface, but not before Poe can give his new friend a name. It turns out stormtroopers don't have names, just ID numbers, so Poe names him Finn. Their adorable buddy moment is cut short as they hurl toward Jakku's surface and crash lands. When Finn comes to, their TIE is aggressively on fire, and Poe is nowhere to be seen except for his sexy leather jacket. Finn assumes him dead, takes the jacket, strips off his stormtrooper armor, and makes for the nearest town, which happens to be the same town where Rey and her new pal BB-8 happen to be hanging out. BB-8 happens to see Finn, who is wearing Poe's old jacket, which he instantly recognizes. BB-8 tells Rey that it's stolen, and Rey responds in kind by beating the shit out of Finn with a staff, no questions asked. Finn is able to make up a quick lie about he's in the Resistance, knows Poe, and is a part of their mission. Somehow BB-8 buys this. None of this really matters though, because now there are stormtroopers milling about trying to find BB-8, which they do. The trio tries to escape, but a couple of TIE fighters appear, blowing everything to shit. They decide their best chance is to board a ship and escape off planet. After their first choice for ships is blown up by TIE fighters, Rey settles for the trash, which happens to be the goddamn Millennium Falcon. What? What are you doing here, Millennium Falcon? Where's Han and Chewie? What's going on? Oh shit, there are TIE fighters. We better get this thing moving along. They board the Falcon, and since it now apparently belongs to Rey's boss, she's at least a little familiar with how it runs. They take off, and the TIEs chase after. They're able to outsmart the TIEs and make it into open space, but the Falcon ain't as young as she used to be, and they're about to blow up. As Rey is fixing the Falcon, Finn comes clean to BB-8. Finn tells him that he helped Poe escape and everything that followed. BB-8 believes him and decides to trust him. Right as BB-8 is about to give them directions to the Resistance base, the Falcon is caught in a tractor beam. The First Order has found them already. The Falcon's hatch opens and on rushes Han Solo and Chewbacca. What the actual fuck is going on here? Okay, so it turns out Han and Leia aren't doing so great with their marriage, so Han and Chewie have been making hauling runs of questionable legality, during which the Falcon was stolen. Han has always had his own tracker on his baby, and as soon as they enter space, Han was able to lock on. Remember that subject of questionable legality? Well, it has caught up to Han. He's hauling Rathtars, which are just giant tentacled monsters. A couple gangs that Han double-crossed have caught up with him, and now they've boarded his hauling freighter, wanting to have a little chat. Long story short, there's something about Kanji Club, the monsters get loosed and eat pretty much everyone, and Han, Chewie, Rey, Finn, and BB-8 escape on the Falcon. They come clean to Han about their mission. Han admits to being the legendary Han Solo and says that Luke was his friend. It turns out a student of Luke's turned to the dark side and destroyed everything Luke built to rekindle the Jedi. He was so crushed by it that he just disappeared. Han says that the rumor is that Luke went to find the first ever Jedi temple. Han obviously wants to help them, so he agrees to take them to an old smuggler contact so the group can find the Resistance. This smuggler contact turns out to be the badass tiny orange lady named Maz Kanata, who lives in this equally badass castle where smugglers hang out and drink all day. Here's the thing about Maz. She clearly knows stuff about the Force, but she isn't a Jedi, and she senses something very special about Rey. Maz and Han start talking details, and it turns out both the Resistance and the First Order have spies at Maz's castle, and they both spot BB-8. It's only a matter of time before trouble starts. First though, Rey follows some voices she hears to the basement. There, she is led to a box, and when she opens it, a very familiar lightsaber is revealed. It's the lightsaber Luke lost when he lost his hand on Bespin back in Empire Strikes Back. The very same lightsaber that belonged to Luke's father, Anakin Skywalker, when he was a Jedi. When she touches it, she goes on a Force trip and is shown several things. Some past, some present, and some future. It really freaks her out, and when she comes to, Maz is right there, curiously looking at her. Maz tells Rey that the belongings she's looking for has more to do with Luke Skywalker than anything else, and that she should take the lightsaber. She refuses and runs into the woods to get some air. Let's put a pin in this because something pretty awful is happening elsewhere in the galaxy. First important bit of knowledge, Kylo Ren is revealed to be Darth Vader's grandson and has vowed to finish what Vader started. Kylo also is revealed to be the apprentice of Snoke, a mysterious, apparently barely alive but powerful figure. Second is that the First Order had an entire planet with a gun carved out of it that can destroy an entire star system. After a speech that would make Hitler very proud, General Hux orders the giant planet gun to fire at the New Republic. Within minutes, the entire capital world of the New Republic and the system where it sits, the Hosnian system, is obliterated. The event is so powerful that it can be seen from other planets. Back at Maz's castle, Han and Finn watch in horror as the weapon is used. They notice that Rey is nowhere to be seen, but it's too late. The First Order has arrived to steal BB-8. As stormtroopers begin to land, Maz gives the lightsaber to Finn for safekeeping. As the battle rages on, Rey is discovered in the woods by Kylo Ren. He freezes her and discovers that she's seen the map he's looking for and doesn't need BB-8, which is lucky for Kylo because the Resistance has just arrived and they're absolutely loving killing First Order scum. As Kylo retreats with his division of stormtroopers and Rey, Han Solo looks on with horror. Something about Kylo has really upset Han. As the First Order retreats, a command ship lands and Han and Leia see each other for the first time in ages. After some absolutely adorable old couple dialogue, Han admits to Leia that he saw their son, who is revealed to be Kylo Ren. They don't have time for this though, they need to get back to base and figure out how to keep this giant planet gun from being used again. Back at the base, the Resistance forms a plan which is more or less the same plan we've seen this entire saga. Send a covert team planet-side to lower the shields and then blow up a thing that will cause a chain reaction and destroy the planet-sized gun. Meanwhile, Rey is being interrogated by Kylo, but she's able to resist his mind powers. This really pisses Kylo off and he takes a break. He visits his master Snoke, who commands Kylo to bring Rey to him. Kylo can't do that though because Rey has somehow used the Force to mind trick her stormtrooper guard, and she escapes and starts sneaking around the base. Han, Finn, and Chewbacca crash land on the gun planet and figure out how to lower the shields while they look for Rey. They're able to get the shields down and X-Wings fly in to start blowing up the thing we were talking about earlier. Han and Finn catch up to Rey and decide to help the Resistance blow up the thing by planting explosives around it. This ultimately leads Han Solo to his son, who we learn is actually named Ben, finding each other. After a tense exchange, Kylo ultimately drives his lightsaber through Han's chest, killing him as Finn, Rey, and Chewie watch. This enrages Chewie and he takes a shot at Kylo, grazing him. The group detonates their charges and escapes. The Resistance can now destroy the thing. Now, the planet gun is about to blow up and the terrain has turned into an icy hellscape. Kylo catches up to Finn and Rey. Kylo immediately knocks Rey out and Finn draws the old Skywalker lightsaber for a duel. Kylo wants the lightsaber very badly, so after a quick duel, Kylo slices Finn up within an inch of his life. Suddenly, while Kylo is trying to use the Force to pull the lightsaber hilt to his hand, it flies past him and into Rey's hand. The Force has awakened in her and she's ready to spank some emo Darth Vader wannabe ass. Rey and Kylo fight. Kylo offers to train Rey and she's all nah bro and is able to hit him in the face with her lightsaber. Chewie is able to fly in at the last second and pick her, as well as a badly wounded Finn, up in the Falcon and they escape. Oh, and the planet gun blows up. Yay! When the heroes all return to base, minus Han Solo because he's pretty dead now, R2, who has been dormant and asleep since Luke disappeared, wakes up and has the other part of the map. He and BB-8 work together to produce the map to Luke Skywalker. They have finally found him. Leia asks Rey to go with his old lightsaber and convince him to rejoin the fight. She follows the map to an island on a lost planet and finds Jedi Master Luke Skywalker standing on a hill waiting for her. She extends the lightsaber hilt to him, silently begging for his help to defeat the First Order and his nephew, Kylo Ren.
Episode 8, The Last Jedi. It's just hours after the Resistance attack on Starkiller Base, and the Resistance is frantically evacuating because they know the First Order is right on their heels. Right as they're finishing, the First Order arrives, vastly outnumbering the Resistance. Everyone's favorite handsome flyboy springs a surprise trick attack to distract the First Order. The attack is a success, and they even manage to take down one of the First Order's dreadnoughts, but the Resistance suffers heavy casualties. They skedaddle and jump to lightspeed. Now, it turns out the First Order has a secret way to track them, so they aren't safe for very long. Finn wakes up in the hospital bay, having mostly recovered after his scuffle with Kylo Ren. We pick up with Rey right where we left her. Luke takes the hilt of his old lightsaber and, after a moment of thought, tosses it over his shoulder. Every problem in his life has been caused by a lightsaber, and he's not having any of it. He stalks off, upset that his life as a hermit has been interrupted. Chewie finally shows up to talk some sense into Luke and tells him what happened with Han and their battle. Luke is crushed that his best friend is dead because of him. Meanwhile, Snoke is pissed at Kylo. He was beaten by a girl who's never held a lightsaber, and he's unbalanced and predictable. Kylo leaves Snoke's throne room in a rage, destroys his Kylo helmet, and orders that his ship be prepared for battle. Luke tries to explain his exile to his visitors, but Rey and Chewbacca don't understand. After all, what do they expect him to do? Walk out with a laser sword and face down the entire First Order? Not this Luke. He's seen too much. Rey vows that she's not leaving without him, so she starts following him around as he goes about his day-to-day routine. As it turns out, Luke's day-to-day routine is pretty boring. While observing Luke, Rey hears a mysterious call from a huge tree. She goes to it and investigates and discovers a modest, if very ancient, library of books with strange writing and symbols. Suddenly Luke's there, and he tells her that the books are the ancient Jedi texts written by the first of his order. He can sense Rey's force potential, but he tells her he'll never train another generation of Jedi because it's time for the Jedi to end. Back at the Resistance fleet, they're trying to figure out where the fuck they need to go. Suddenly, the First Order shows up, which is impossible because everyone knows you can't track a ship through hyperspace. It doesn't matter, the First Order can do it anyway. The First Order fleet immediately attacks, and Kylo Ren himself rides into battle in his sweet-ass custom TIE fighter. He senses his mother Leia on the bridge of the flagship, and contemplates firing torpedoes at her. He can't do it, but his wingmen sure as fuck can, and they blow that bridge to smithereens, launching everyone there into the vacuum of space. The Resistance fleet is able to limp away because they're faster than the First Order, but they can't jump to hyperspace. Eventually, they'll run out of fuel and be dead in the water. All the First Order has to do is wait. Now, floating in space is General Leia Organa. In a desperate attempt at survival, she uses the Force to float back inside the ship, though the attack and the strain of saving herself leaves her nearly dead. R2-D2 and Luke have a discussion that doesn't change Luke's mind to stay where he is, but it does convince him to give Rey 3 Jedi lessons. Rey figures it's better than nothing and she agrees. Meanwhile, on the Resistance fleet, things are pretty fucked. All their leaders are dead and Leia is unconscious. The next ranking officer, Vice Admiral Holdo, takes command, and immediately she and Poe aren't huge fans of each other. Finn and his new engineer friend Rose brainstorm on how the First Order tracked them and figure there must be a tracky thingy on the First Order flagship that needs sabotaging, because there's always a thing that needs to be blown up or shut down. Well, with the help of Maz Kanata, they come up with a plan to meet with a hacker on the planet Cantobite who can confuse the First Order code and get Finn and Rose on board. Poe tells them to do it in secret because he doesn't trust Holdo. They need to hurry though. Time is short and Leia might not make it. On the other side of the galaxy, Luke starts his lessons with Rey. The first lesson is about how the Force doesn't belong to the Jedi, and to assume that they're the only ones who can keep it safe is arrogant. The second is a history lesson about how the Jedi allowed the downfall of the Republic to happen right in front of their eyes. Now, Luke is kinda jaded these days. So jaded he doesn't even give Rey a third lesson and reveals that he's cut himself off from the Force. Finn and Rose go to Cantobite, which is really just one giant casino. They're unable to find the hacker, but they are arrested for a parking violation. I swear I'm not making that up. While in jail, they conveniently meet another hacker named DJ who promises to help them. They escape and get on their way back to the fleet. Now here's some fun news. All of a sudden, Rey and Kylo can see each other. It's like some weird Force-assisted Skype call. Now neither of them know what the hell's going on, but Kylo knows that Rey isn't doing it because the effort would kill her. He tells Rey his side of what happened between him and Luke. Luke sensed that Kylo was more powerful and tried to murder him in his sleep. This leaves Rey a little concerned about Luke. Soon after, Rey discovers a part of the island that's strong in the dark side. She visits it and has a Force acid trip that really upsets her. The next time she sees Kylo, they talk about it, because he might be the only person that understands what she's going through. While the kids are chatting, Luke decides it's time to open himself up to the Force again, and immediately feels that his sister is in danger. He must go to her right the fuck now. He rushes to Rey's hut and walks in on their little Force Skype. Rey and Kylo are touching hands, and Luke flips out, obliterating the entire hut. He was foolish to think he could keep Rey on the path of light. No matter what, he must stay in exile. Rey confronts Luke and tells him that she had a vision that Kylo can be turned to the light side. Luke tries to tell her that visions can be deceiving, that it won't go the way she thinks. He tells her what really happened with Kylo. Luke sensed the dark side in him and was tempted to kill him, but couldn't. Kylo woke up and saw Luke standing over him with a lightsaber and attacked Luke, slaughtered his students, and burned his temple down. Rey asks him one more time to come with her, and he refuses. She decides her best chance now is to try and turn Kylo and fight with him to defeat the First Order. She jumps in the Falcon with Chewie and R2 and they leave. Luke is so upset that he decides the Jedi must finally end. He takes a torch to the ancient library with the intention of burning it and is visited by the Force ghost of Jedi Master Yoda. Luke tells Yoda that he can't burn it, and Yoda laughs and rains down lightning on the library, reducing it to ashes. He tells Luke that the books don't matter, his failure with Kylo doesn't matter. All that matters now is that Rey be given the tools she needs to be a Jedi. Back at the Resistance fleet, shit is looking pretty grim. Poe doesn't trust Holdo, and their ships are getting picked off one by the First Order. Finn and Rose are able to sneak aboard the First Order flagship and disguise themselves. They begin their search for the tracky thingy. Rey has Chewie drop her off right in front of the First Order flagship. Now she's immediately captured by Kylo Ren and brought before Snoke so that he can tear Luke's location from her mind. She's confident though. I mean, she saw a vision and everything. Well, fuck. Rey learns when she meets Snoke that he's the one who's been connecting her and Kylo's minds, and he's the one who fed her the vision about turning Kylo. Snoke is able to take Luke's location from her mind and orders Kylo to kill her. Now instead of doing that, Kylo kills Snoke. Then he and Rey team up for a brutal battle against Snoke's guards. Well, fuck again. Finn and Rose are captured by the First Order when DJ betrays them. Since Poe finds out that Holdo intends to try and sneak away from the First Order, which he thinks will doom them, he stages a mutiny, which might have had a chance had a recently awoken General Leia not immediately stunned him. Holdo's grand plan is revealed. What remains of the Resistance will sneak away to a nearby abandoned base while she stays behind and distracts the First Order. They launch their sneaking ships, but there's only one problem. DJ tips the First Order off and they know about the sneaking ships too and start to open fire on them. This is a huge problem because the sneaking ships are slow as fuck and don't have any guns. Now after winning their battle, Kylo wants Rey to forget about the Resistance and help him rule the galaxy. That's not what she signed up for. They end up having a forced tug-of-war over Luke's old lightsaber, which breaks in half and emits a shockwave that knocks Kylo the fuck out. Alright, let's take stock here. Finn and Rose are about to be executed. The Resistance are sitting ducks in defenseless ships that are being picked off by the First Order. Rey is nowhere to be seen. Holdo, who stayed behind, figures, well, time to go balls deep. She turns the enormous Resistance flagship towards the First Order flagship and jumps to motherfucking light speed into the flagship. God damn, Holdo. What a way to go. I mean, just look at this shot. It's so fucking cool. This single act throws everything into chaos. It allows Finn and Rose to escape and kill Captain Phasma. The Resistance ships limp away to their abandoned base, and the First Order has to take a minute to collect themselves. Good job, Holdo. You the real MVP. Snoke is dead, and Kylo declares himself the new Supreme Leader. He orders a strike team to attack the remainder of the Resistance. They have nowhere to run, there's only like 4 of them left anyway, so it shouldn't be that hard. The Resistance puts up a pretty good fight, but in the end it's just not enough. Outside the gate is an enormous group of walkers ready to destroy everything. Leia's other allies aren't coming to help her. The spark of the Resistance is sputtering out. Enter Luke motherfucking Skywalker. He's trimmed his beard and he doesn't look like he's collecting jars of his own piss anymore, but he is clearly ready to do some badass Jedi stuff. He talks to Leia and apologizes for failing her son. She forgives him and tells him that she understands Kylo can't be turned back. Luke is glad because it turns out he's not here to turn anybody. He's here to whoop that boy's ass. Luke Skywalker, the most powerful Jedi that has ever lived, does exactly what he said he wouldn't do. He walks out by himself in front of a dozen giant walkers and faces down the entire First Order with his goddamn laser sword. The walkers all fire on Luke, but if you think that's gonna work, you haven't been paying attention. When the dust settles, Luke is still standing there waiting for his nephew to come down there and face him like a man. While all this is happening, Rey is able to pick up the remaining Resistance survivors with the Falcon. Kylo and Luke have a very unique lightsaber duel. Kylo furiously hacks and slashes at Luke, but he's never able to get close enough to Luke to make him need to block. Luke finally powers down his lightsaber and tells Kylo that he can strike him down if he wants, but he'll always be with him. Just like his father. Kylo is consumed by rage and runs Luke through with his lightsaber. At least that's what he thought he did. When he turns around, Luke is still standing there unharmed. Luke reveals that he's in the midst of one of the most impressive displays of Force powers ever. You see, Luke isn't actually there. He's still back on his Jedi island. He's using the Force to project his consciousness and image over light years of space so perfectly that it fools everyone, even the goddamn droids, into believing he's actually there. Kylo recognizes too late that it was all a diversion, and before Luke disappears, he makes a promise to Kylo.
See you around, kid.
Back on Jedi Island, it turns out Luke used every bit of effort he had to do what he did, and his time is short. He crosses his legs, closes his eyes, and dies peacefully. His body disappears, just like his mentors Obi-Wan and Yoda. Rey and Leia feel Luke's death in the Force, but they're relieved it was peaceful. As they escape the First Order, you learn that Rey actually stole all of Luke's Jedi books before she left. Rey and Leia have all they need to rebuild the Resistance, which has become an inspiring legend to the oppressed because of the heroic sacrifice Luke Skywalker made.